What is a moment lately that reminded you why you love this work?
So I am very, very fortunate that over the course of my career, particularly with Gibson Sotheby's International Realty and working with you and the rest of the team and our owners, Larry and Paul, that I have discovered what my passion is. And my passion is helping other people accomplish something that they want to accomplish, something that's difficult, you know? And a recent conversation we had with a potential acquisition opportunity was one of those where you're having this shared conversation, and I already know that we all kind of share that passion, or at least elements of it within our organization. But then when you sit with people who aren't part of the organization, they also share it. There's this, it's almost like you feel like we're about to put something together that could be incredibly magical, that could benefit everybody in this room, plus all of our agents combined.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am here today for the first podcast officially co-hosting Real Tea with Colleen Barry, our CEO.
Hello, how are you?
We're good.
Good.
You want to give a little intro to yourself as the co-host?
Sure.
Drum roll.
I'm excited about it. I know we should have hired a drummer for this. I've been a longtime admirer of this podcast. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. You deliver value all the time, so I'm excited to be part of it.
You've been on like 80% of the
I have been on
episodes.
many of them.
Yeah. So anyways, today we're going to talk just honestly like a little bit about our partnership, but just building a culture of partnership. Because we talk all the time about how like anytime we are going to roll a company and acquire a company, like it really comes down to the partnership.
Yep.
We talk all the time about like, obviously our relationship, it's sort of a nuanced business. Like your relationship with your sales team is a partnership.
100%.
And with us more so. I mean, I won't get into it, but like there's a lot of people tying people to contracts and doing things. We're not doing that.
Right.
We're at will. You're here because you want to be.
That's right.
And we're here because we want to be. And that is something that really differentiates us. Yep. A lot of people are kind of tied to things at this point in this industry, and we've never taken that step. Yep. No one's tied in here. But what we have to do is sort of like that has to start at the top. Yes. That partnership of whether it's like between you and I, between, you know, the whole leadership team, obviously with the sales team, with staff, with Larry and Paul, the owners, there's a layer of partnership that everybody has to sort of figure out how to navigate. Right. Because it's not the standard sort of business setup. Right. So how did we build that culture is really what we're going to dive into today. What does that mean to us?
I love it. Well, and I think a piece of where that came from was really Larry and Paul and the approach they wanted to take. I mean, every step of the way, it's been, you know, whenever the company is succeeding, they're looking for ways to reinvest to help the agents grow their businesses or to help the company grow so that our agents can grow within it. Right. So I think it's always been a piece of how the organization has run. It's like woven into the fabric of it. But then how each of us then operates within our leadership team or within the support staff, it's a similar thing. Like we like to say we're a very flat organization. It's not like a series of hierarchies. And that means that each of us is really leaning into each other's strengths, I think, as a result.
It's a service-based industry, obviously. So honestly, agents are partnering with their clients to get their home sold.
Absolutely.
We're partnering with them to back them on that. And that's really what it comes down to. And so having to figure that out, it is harder and it probably takes a lot more energy than just being like, it's more standard top down. Yep. Here's the boss. Here's what they say. Here's what you do. Like everybody kind of has to have input and everybody has to really like what's going on. And we have to make sure that happens.
But that allows each of us to bring value in a different way. I think that's ultimately when a partnership is functioning really, really well. And particularly in an organization like ours, where it's partnering in every sense of the word in different, ways that it's happening, with the agents, with the employees, with the leadership staff, with the ownership, with the communities. I mean, it's partnering all the way through. Each of us then in that case has to recognize the value in each other and to seek that out and to help each other grow too. Yeah. So it's a little bit like how mentorship works within our organization, which is not like whoever the oldest and most senior person is the mentor, and the younger person, it's not that way. We're mentoring each other all the time. Yeah. I get mentored by our entry-level employees just as much, I think, as I get mentored by our owners. Right. So, and it happens all the way around. So it's really a 360-degree mentorship and partnership.
Shared vision, different strengths is really what it comes down to. I actually had a moment like 2 weeks ago that 2 big decisions were made and I shared input that I didn't agree that was how they were going to happen. And there was like 3 high-level leadership people that were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I it was like twice in over 2 days, but once one day, once the next. And I laid in bed being like, I don't like this. I'm not used to that.
Being agreed with?
No. And it literally made me very nervous. I was like, okay, why? Is there something new? I was just saying I've been more ruthless with my time and my two toddlers. Am I not as, do they feel like they couldn't tell me no? Or
right. Yes.
Or is this really on me now because nobody disagreed? So now I have to be the one that made that call because there was no pushback.
Right.
I'm so used to the pushback and I like it because it's how I learn.
Yes.
You're so different. You're going to come at things light years different than I'm going to.
Absolutely.
But I learn from that.
Yep.
Because we are partnered with, I don't know, a couple hundred people every single day. And some of them probably think a lot like you do. So I might as well figure that out.
But that's where it's exciting because we disagree a lot. But that ultimately, first of all, that we share the same end goal, right? So there's that piece of it. The second piece is we share trust and respect. So that is hugely important because you can't really disagree fully if you don't trust that the other person respects your opinion and cares enough to, at the end of all of this, we're just going to hug and move on. Not that we actually ever hug because we don't. But I think what is exciting about that is that we can explore new ideas and new ways of getting things done.
Yeah, you can't successfully disagree if you don't feel like there's a trust and respect.
Right.
100%. You're just disagreeing for argument's sake.
But I think what's important for other people to understand is while we have this sister-like relationship and this incredible work relationship, we disagree on almost everything. And except for on the fact that we disagree. That's the thing that we agree on.
Right.
So then it's about us entering into those conversations or into making those decisions, understanding that I'm going to say, well, I think we should go up. And, we might hear 1 or 2 other people go, oh, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe we tweak this. And Nicole goes, I don't think that's the way we should do it.
Well, what really sucked last week is neither of us really ever take any time off. But if one of us is at a conference or whatever, I took a couple days, attempted to take a couple days off. Yeah, and when I came back, we had to just go through a whole list of things we disagreed on because I had been gone for 3 days.
Yes.
Usually it's just one a day.
Right.
But if you're gone for a couple days, I'm like, well, we're going to have to spend all day arguing over the 3 to 5 suggestions you made every day this week. Yeah.
And in the end of it, there was, oh, I'm so sorry the conversation went that way. No. I think we got to the end. Yeah. And we're good.
Yeah.
That was it.
And everybody will be better off.
It was the same as always.
Right. Yeah. There was no fight in the lobby or anything. So that's always good.
As far as anybody knows.
Yeah.
We didn't get it on camera.
Right. I just bumped your car lightly when I dinged it with my door. But I think adapting to the evolving industry, genuinely, if you're not willing to evolve and adapt and figure out what other people, you can't operate and lead a company that needs to evolve and adapt.
100%.
So it is a good exercise.
So there was this really amazing thought leader in the education space. Sir Ken Robinson was his name. He was brilliant. And one of the things he said is you cannot innovate if you're afraid to fail, if you're afraid to make a mistake. And I think it's similar with leading people and with leading through change is that we cannot be innovative. We cannot be truly adaptive and be really strong and successful unless we're willing to be wrong among each other and that we're willing to check each other on our ideas. And so I think the way that we do that is by, first of all, again, acknowledging and respecting one another. But there's also an element of acknowledging that there are times where something is a priority for me. And I will say, this is important to me, or this is not important to me. So while we disagree, if it's that even, just go with your way. If you feel strongly about it.
Right.
So I think there's a piece of it too, where it's acknowledging the respect, and care about one another, but also at the same time, acknowledging that not every decision is as important to both of us. That's rare.
Yeah. But us respectfully disagreeing also gives everybody permission to respectfully disagree, which is the only way to go.
Yes.
Everybody can say I don't think that.
Yep.
If we just in front of everybody always, specifically leadership, just agreed, like we're not afraid to get on the call and be like, I don't think so.
And there are occasions where the people we work with say, can you guys just go fight this out?
Yeah,
and
right.
then come back to us with an answer and we're like, yeah, sorry about that. We'll do that.
Yeah, right. Then I ding your car again. No, I'm just kidding.
But I think a piece of what's so exciting about that, though, is that it also creates an environment where people feel very comfortable giving feedback or feed forward. In other words, like as Matthew says, where we'll say to each other, hey, the way you did that, I wish you had done it this way. Or this thing that you tried to accomplish by doing this, you actually did the opposite.
Yeah.
And so then we get to learn and to be better people, better leaders, better employees. So
it's funny. I'm about to be married for 5 years, which is crazy. I know, it flew. We're a COVID wedding, so it was one of those things too. You're like, how was COVID 5 years ago?
Yeah,
I'm still finding masks and things like bags and stuff, like a time capsule. Anyway, I digress. But I feel like the only catastrophic moments, and specifically for me in my marriage, are like if we're not on the same page about where the goalpost is, we always say that.
Yes.
Like if you are like, this is the vision, this is where we're going, and we're sort of just not in agreement to how we're going to arrive there.
Yes.
Then you're like, okay. Like it's basically like we sailed a lot in the beginning of our relationship. It's like, okay, we're like heading for like this island and we're just disagreeing on like how the sail should be set. We're still like getting there.
Right.
But like if you're looking at that island, I'm looking at this island and like also thinking about maybe the one behind us, that's when things go completely wrong.
Yep.
And that is definitely where I feel like we are consistent. We always drill down into like, as long as we share the vision for where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So we both usually agree 100% on all of that. And usually our approaches, which is interesting because it's what we would prefer. That's what I think is interesting about how you approach things. I like to tell people where we're going and how we're getting there. No questions. Because I like to be told and feel confident. That's just my personality.
Yep.
You like to ask people how they would like to help us get there.
Yep.
Because you like to be a part of that conversation. Not to put words in your mouth, but you like that. You want someone to ask you like,
and I like to have a little creative flexibility.
Yeah. And I'm not creative. I want black and white answers and I want to feel confident in the person driving. That is so important because we're going to have a mixed bag of people.
Yep.
But the reason that we can like kind of dabble in both and it's always appropriate at different times is because we know where we're going.
That's right. The destination has to be decided upon.
Right.
You know, it's interesting because when I was doing the coaching work, the business planning work with agents, which I did for years, it was fascinating because many agents didn't really have a clear destination. So it was like, how are we even going to get there? How are we going to know if we're on the right path if we don't have a clear destination? And I think the interesting thing about disagreement in partnership, not that that's what we're supposed to be totally focused on here, but what's really neat about that is that as you're going along, if the decision that the group made or that we made in order to how we were going to get there isn't working, we've got other options.
Right.
Because we disagreed at the beginning. So we can go, hey, let's change horses.
Right.
And let's see if this one will carry us farther.
The foundation too, like I feel like we've discussed on a couple of the podcasts, but we have such a unique combination of with our brand, with the Sotheby's International Realty brand, that the heritage, the legacy, the reputation is there. With our two owners, Larry and Paul, they're 40 plus years in the industry. Like that real, like you can really trust. You have that, you've built that foundation. But a lot of people then rest on their laurels. Then we have, then you have companies that are only innovating but really have no reputation. So that makes people, we're like really combining the two.
That's right.
And that's what makes us able to even like have this conversation, be doing this. This is all like, let's try this. But our foundation is there.
Yep.
And that is something, again, I keep making marriage references, but like, it's the same thing with the marriage. Like if you just understand sort of like you're standing on solid ground, you can try anything.
That's right.
Like a partnership is built, you have to build the foundation first. You have to have the trust. You have to like know that like if we screw this up, it's fine. We have the foundation to then start again.
That's right.
And I think that that is a big piece in like our partnership with each other, with our leadership team, with our staff, with our sales team. It's just everybody's like, well, we have a mutual trust and we have a really solid foundation.
Yep.
So let's try some new things.
That's right.
You know, Larry always says, if you're not growing, you're dying.
That's right.
So that's like, we're going to screw it up at some point.
Absolutely.
Right? You're going to be right. I'm going to be wrong. But it's the fun of it. Yeah. And you have to have a desire to evolve.
Agreed. And I think, for us, if I were going to use a phrase to describe what we're doing, it's innovative stewardship. In other words, with this brand, with this company, we're all stewards. We're caring for something for the chapter that we're contributing within it, the chapter that we're participating in. But the reality is there were chapters before us, there will be chapters later. So that's ultimately stewardship. But when you can do so in an innovative way, I think you can find success in changing markets. And the reality is that there are lots of examples. As a matter of fact, I read a statistic the other day that said Fortune 500 companies now have shorter and shorter lifespans. And the reality is it's because as they get big, it's very hard for them to pivot and make adjustments. I think if you can find a way to wrap it into the DNA of your organization, that you really truly are innovative stewards. We're going to take this thing to the next chapter, and we're going to do so by pivoting and adjusting. I think that's the way that you can find success in this changing environment.
I love that. What is a moment, this is your one lightning round, what is a moment lately that reminded you why you love this work?
So I am very, very fortunate that over the course of my career, particularly with Gibson Sotheby's International Realty and working with you and the rest of the team and our owners, Larry and Paul, that I have discovered what my passion is. And my passion is helping other people accomplish something that they want to accomplish, something that's difficult, And a recent conversation we had with a potential acquisition opportunity was one of those where you're having this shared conversation. And I already know that we all kind of share that passion, or at least elements of it within our organization. But then when you sit with people who aren't part of the organization, they also share it. There's this, it's almost like you feel like we're about to put something together that could be incredibly magical, that could benefit everybody in this room, plus all of our agents combined. And that to me is that was one of those moments where I was like, I love this job because I get to be so connected to these people within our organization and then to find new connections.
That's funny because honestly, I was just thinking as you were talking, I'm answering my own lightning round question, but mine's similar. It's always the people.
Yes.
There are. Last week was a rough week. There's rough moments.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Everybody has rough times. And honestly, it's a stressful business. And when things get stressful, it like we always say, like, if a client is stressed, then the salesperson's stressed, and then the marketing team's stressed, it just sort of all trickles down. But I literally began working here, not to go into some big, long story, but I mean, I've told it on the podcast before for sure. I had another job lined up. I wasn't intending on working in the company. Yeah. I was
totally
covering
different career.
Yeah.
You were going for a different thing.
Right. I'm in a different state. I was covering the office for my uncle that was sick. He passed away. I went to all of the services. And that was when I met most of the Gibson people.
Yes.
And I was just like, wow, like and I had already gone and worked. And so it was like, there's something here that's beyond just like a work 100%. Thing. And I believe it's industry wide. I do find that like real estate collects a very interesting group of humans. And I love that.
Yep.
And every time like things get a little tough, I'm like, no, but like there's just so many good humans. Every time we go to something, I'm just like, it's the people that we're here for.
Yep.
I mean, Larry will tear up, never won't, talking about like having this, like acquiring the company, trying to figure out how he was going to get through 08 and having people be like, I'm not going to cash my check until you're ready.
That's right.
Like that is, what is the point of working if you're not working around people that like you love, they love you. Like what's the point of, not what's the point of working. I shouldn't say it that way.
I know
but once you get a taste of that,
yep,
of really caring about people and showing up for people and having it be more dynamic and beyond just like a job, so you can't go back.
We're hardwired for it.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is that humans as a species would not survive unless we collaborated and tribed together, unless we connected with one another. It's just the way that we evolved. So my heart goes out to people who work in environments where they are literally just checking a box. They go in, they punch in, they do their thing. They're not connected to people. They punch back out. I mean, that's my definition of hell. So I think what we have here is magical, and it's because it is built upon that foundation that we are literally hardwired for.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's exhausting too, though.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
To care about people.
Well, because there's very little that's on that you can just put on habit.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone's really tired, it's one of two reasons. One, they're in a soul-sapping environment, which can happen. But the other one is because they cannot rely on habit. Like that's what happened during COVID, right? We would talk to people and they would say, every day at 2:00, I'm just done. I don't know why. I just have nothing left. Mm-hmm. And what I was realizing is based on the Charles Duhigg book, The Power of Habit, most of the stuff that we do throughout the course of the day is based on habit. So when you can no longer rely on habit, you're going to burn through your energy so much faster. And so, but that's when you are passionate about something, when you're highly engaged with other people, it does take more work, but it's so much more rewarding.
Yeah. No, it lifts you up. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I feel like we probably didn't stay on script today, but that's what you can expect.
Absolutely.
Going forward. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we did answer the question. The partnership is constantly partnership is something that we exist in almost every relationship in this business.
Yep.
Our sales team exists in with their clients. We're trying every day to kind of perfect that. And we believe that thriving in a partnership is having people that do think differently than you, being able to refine constantly and evolve, learn from each other. So thanks for doing that for me. And I'll only hit your car like a little on the way out if you're
bang, bang, bang. I know.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here today. And going forward, we will be co-hosting Real Tea. So don't forget to subscribe. Every week we come out with an episode. And I recently subscribed and it's kind of fun because it just pops up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Thank you.